Hello. Um, okay. Hi, this is Reza, CTO of CoinField. Today I'm going to be answering some of the questions we were getting on social media and through our channels. So I prefetched a list of questions that I wanted to go through. And after that, I will be answering some of the questions here on the chat. So let's just get right to it. Okay. Okay, so the first question that we were asked about Solo and the Sologenic ecosystem is that if there's a feature that the XRP ledger prevents for creating additional tokens. Well, that's a really good question. And so basically, as you know, XRP ledger provides creation of IOUs. And so with these IOUs, you can actually, any gateway can issue tokens, or the issuance of the XRP ledger allows these gateways to issue things like USD or euro or anything that's backed by the gateway. And so that's basically for banking systems to transfer money and etc. So we're using these IOUs, and we're actually using a smart contract. We're going to use a multi-signature smart contract to basically generate 400 million Solo tokens. And the keys are held by our trust company, our escrow, and ourselves. So we have two sets of keys that they have and we have. And so what we're going to do is we're going to write these contracts that will automatically generate these tokens at a specific given time. And the trust company will sign it along with us. And so these tokens will be transferred to our cold wallet. And from this cold wallet, then we will transfer adequate amounts to our operational or hot wallets. And so that way we will make sure that these keys are never used. So the keys that we use for the smart contract are only used once to generate these tokens. The second question that I want to answer today is, why not use XRP as a liquidity and use Solo? So this is the biggest question that we've kind of been getting. And almost everybody was asking, what is the purpose of Solo, and why don't you guys just use XRP as the liquidity for the Sologenic ecosystem? And so like I did in my last interview, like I said in my last interview, we've done a lot of research over the past 6 months to see how this ecosystem can work. And so we've started by looking at this, because the idea was to get this project done. We wanted to tokenize stocks, but getting there was one thing. How to do it was another thing that we tried to solve. And we looked at it as, okay, what if we create stable coins? What if we do like the new idea, collateralizing XRP idea? So we thought about all those stuff, and so there was one element missing, which we needed to get this system going, and that was the Solo tokens. It's basically for this micro economy to work. And so the most important part is that the brokerage firms, they do not accept XRP or Solo or any other cryptocurrency. They all deal with fiat, unfortunately, at time being. And that's why we're trying to solve this issue. We're putting this gateway, this oracle, that will communicate with the blockchain and these brokerage firms that will issue the tokenized assets. Well, we issue the tokenized assets, but they will issue the actual assets. So like I said, they don't accept any crypto, so we cannot settle with XRP with them unless they will one day, or there is a company out there that is accepting that we're unaware of. At the moment, we're using fiat. And so we use Sologenic's liquidity pool that is filled with Solo tokens by stakeholders, or by CoinField, um, by the solos that CoinField sells, and portion of that will go to the liquidity pool. So we use that to settle with fiat. So we convert these Solo tokens to fiat, and we'll pay these companies. At the same time that we're selling these Solos to users, users are buying Solos to get into these markets, to purchase stocks like Apple or Tesla or any other stocks that is included in the Sologenic ecosystem, like we have in our white paper. So this process will kind of equalize the buy and sell process, and will allow us to keep the trading levels high and the liquidity deep enough for for the whole thing to work. I would always compare this as basically the Sologenic is the ecosystem. It's like your body. It's a thing. It's an echo. Your body is also an ecosystem. The blood you have in your body is the Solo coins, and the food you eat is the fuel or the XRP. Because Sologenic is on the XRP ledger and Solo coins are issued on the XRP ledger, everything is basically fueled by XRP. All the transactions and all that. I'll get to that question actually. That what are the benefits for XRP? But this is basically mainly the reason that we're using Solo. The next question that I want to answer is, so yep, the same thing that I just mentioned. How does this help XRP coin? So first of all, I would like to clarify that we're not going to do the Sologenic project to have any impact on the price of XRP. I would love to see XRP to get to $10. I wouldn't be really sad if it doesn't, but we're talking about the technology, and we're on the early days of blockchain, and I think XRP is one of the best blockchain blockchain systems that is actually doing something good, and it's facilitating the transfers of values in a really fast amount of time. So it's almost near instantaneous. 3-4 seconds is nothing in the traditional financial transactions. And so basically, this, again, the emphasis is we're not trying to bring the price of XRP up or down, or that's not us. That's XRP, and that's only done by supply and demand. And it might eventually happen because the more adoption of the XRP ledger, the more users are going to be using the XRP ledger, and the XRP ledger allows anybody to use XRP. So XRP is like your wildcard that you can use to trade with any issued currency, and that will allow anybody to use this magic token XRP, and will eventually use make the transactions of XRP higher, the liquidity higher, and so on. And so obviously the systems, like I mentioned, burns fees. You have all these transaction fees, you have these trust line fees, you have these contract fees, and all of that. These are all the fees that required, which is not that much, but that's the whole point. Even the whole XRP ecosystem, if by today's standards and rates, if they burn all the XRPs with again today's data, it will take 700,000 years, as it is in the documentation for the XRP ledger, to burn all the XRPs. So we're talking about using the XRP as the gas for this whole system. And I would compare this question, people saying, for example, for the Ethereum blockchain, you can't say, why are you making this ERC20 token? What happens to Ethereum? Are you trying to make this ERC20 to increase the price of Ethereum? They don't have to do anything. Ethereum is providing that platform. Same thing goes with XRP Ledger. XRP Ledger is the building blocks of you know, the Sologenic ecosystem, or the building blocks of facilitating transactions, fast transactions, secure transactions, open transactions, and so on. And so the most important part is the technology. And as David Schwartz said on a tweet about Sologenic, somebody asked him, "What do you think?" He said, "Anything for anything that's built on top of the XRP ledger is good for the whole ecosystem," and that's essentially adoption. So Sologenic is building on XRP ledger, and it's bringing more awareness for the XRP ecosystem. And eventually, you will have people using. You know, we do our part because we are trying to get more people on the whole ecosystem and use these new features like trading and buying stocks and ETFs. And so that way, somebody who might not even be interested in XRP will be eventually introduced using Sologenic to the XRP, and naturally they will be dealing with XRP. They can exchange their coins for XRP. They can exchange their tokens for XRP, and they can they can transfer their coins anywhere they want to any other exchange or cold wallets or personal wallets, and you know, that will basically facilitate them to get introduced to this new system. And that's the most important part we're doing for the XRP ecosystem. And other things are, which I think I'm not going to go through today, are the community. We're building the community for more use cases that can be built on top of the XRP ledger, like Sologenic. So community, when I'm saying community, I'm saying we have a specific fund for projects that are built around the XRP and the use of Solo. And so these funds are specifically for anyone or any company or any entrepreneur or any developer who's coming and building. So we want them to be incentivized so that they can do more work on this ecosystem. So part of the funds will be obviously used for the community. And we also have different incentivized programs, such as the liquidity providing. So we're giving options to user to use Solo and get incentivized in the liquidity pool so that the system can you know, settle with the brokerage firms, and they also get the commission fees. And the commission fees are not just the regular XRP transaction fees; they are stated on the white paper. So there are specific transaction fees using Solo, transacting Solo, and so on. And the benefit, 50% of that will go to the stakeholders, and another 50% will be burnt. They're essentially sent to the issuing address, which is the black hole, and they're burnt. And you know, these are the many ways that Sologenic is trying to help XRP. And again, to say that we're not competing at anyhow with XRP, and we would like to consider XRP to be the ecosystem that Sologenic ecosystem relies on. This is the XRP ledger, which is you know, the whole purpose of the XRP ledger is for adoption. Not only have one XRP tokens in there. If it was the case, then there would not be any issuances or IOUs for, you know, things like stocks and so on. Next question I'm gonna answer is, what are the legal issues for Sologenic in Canada? Somebody asked, why are we not selling in Canada yet? Well, we don't have any issues, and we have been on a strict you know, timeline to announce the project, to be on top of the roadmap. So we will and we want to, you know, be very specific with our roadmap and milestones. And so we had to announce the project while waiting for everything that's required legally to sell in every country that we have listed on the website. So we have the green light for all of the countries that we have mentioned. We're still waiting for Canada. It's not like that we don't want to and we're not going to. We're waiting for Canada, for lawyers to give us the green light, and so that we can proceed. We'll keep you guys definitely updated on the status of that, and hopefully that is something that can happen. But again, we'll update you. Next, I have this question. Can you talk about the trust with IOU tokens? That's actually really good question, because when a company or a gateway specifically is issuing IOUs, users or holders or stakeholders are to trust the gateway, that they will fulfill these IOUs for the asset that they were issued for. If it's fiat, you can always come back, give your IOU back, and get your fiat back. And this is something that's very important for everyone. And so my answer to this question is that we're not just a few guys around the block trying to build a project and make this ecosystem happen. We've been around for the past few years, and we've built a reputable exchange, CoinField, that people can trust now. We've been fully compliant with all the regulations and everything that was required to run an exchange legally. And so we're proud of that. People trust us. We're proud that everybody who's using CoinField is a loyal customer and loyal user of CoinField. And for that reason, CoinField is a reputable company. We have all the milestones, track records, everything on the white paper. So I encourage you to go and read that part. And so we're using that trust that we've built over the past year. And we're trying to add more usage to the blockchain. We're believers in the technology. All of the founders, team members, everyone who's working at CoinField and Sologenic we're literally blockchain enthusiasts. And we've always been since the beginning, or early days when cryptocurrency and blockchain came around. And from the first day we started CoinField, we had this idea in mind that we're going to start this and we're going to make it huge. We're going to add more use cases, and we're going to make mass adoption a reality. And by having CoinField, by making Sologenic, we're achieving these goals. And we're very proud of ourselves. We're working really hard on a day-to-day basis. I personally sleep like a couple of hours per night for the past year and a half, because it's a very fast-paced, it's a very fast-paced scene, and we want to be on top of it. We want to do innovation, and most importantly, we want to have our impact on blockchain and on the whole economy. For that reason, the trust was something that I wanted to point out. And putting that aside, putting trust for CoinField aside, we're working with a trust company, with an escrow company that is basically withholding these issued assets in the physical world. And that is coming from our brokerage companies and our law firm and our Estonian entity. More details of that is in the white paper, but we would like to also propose that we're going to implement a proof of solvency API system that will show all the assets that are held by Sologenic and CoinField, and that they can be verified from the company, the trust company or the escrow company. So that is also something we think people have 100% right to know, that if we have all the assets and everything is intact and is there, and we're only using this ecosystem and all that to for the better good of the technology and blockchain, and not for the benefit of an entity. Second question, actually, the next question, it's not the second question to this, is I saw somebody's asking about dividends, which is a really nice question. And we've been thinking about that over the past few months as well. So our hybrid Oracle basically honors dividends paid on stocks at the point of redeem. So if a stock gets a dividend, so it means that we're getting the dividends on the actual stocks because we're holding those stocks, in our trust company. And so we don't really want to, pocket that or anything. So this definitely 100% belongs to the person who's owning the tokenized stock because it was tokenized on demand. So to solve that, the only place that the user can redeem it is at the point of redeem when they are trying to either exchange their tokenized asset for something else, or they want to completely liquidate that asset and get, either fiat or XRP or any other token and leave. So at that point, we would honor the dividends. We're working on the whole inner systems and how it's done, but it's mostly done through the Oracle. The APIs that will be provided by our brokerage firms will be sufficient enough to transact and handle that. These were most of the questions that I wanted to point out today. And so let me just go through the chat here and see if I can find anything that I can address as well. Well, no, we don't have a price target. We don't really predict anything for the XRP or Solo, but we would like to put our focus on the technology. Okay, so Mike Nard says, you stated once the XRP ledger can collateralize stable coins, stocks, ETFs, etc. Will you utilize it, and how will you do so? So to answer this question is that this idea that is brought up by David Schwartz is really interesting. And, I think this, for the time being, we're adding ideas and implement new things into this ecosystem. So it's not a closed ecosystem. We would add new ideas, we would change things, we would integrate it, make it for the better. And that's why we have the community to make this system, better, to make this whole ecosystem, something that will lift off and be used by the masses. And we're not saying that we're all the only people who know everything better than you guys know, but we need everybody's help. And so as everything's building and everything's being, progressed over time, technology becomes better. We will eventually adopt using new technologies and the XRP collateralization. And that doesn't actually have to do anything with Solo, because we can actually use that feature for the Solo coins itself. We can collateralize XRP, for the Solo coins. So I personally believe that's for when you want to get into the ecosystem. But Solo is mainly for how you're going out of the, this ecosystem to the brokerage firms. And we're trying to solve that part. And how are you buying Solos or these assets? Yes, you can absolutely use XRP, collateralize XRP, and buy any of the assets or Solo with the collateralized XRP. And that's a brilliant idea. And as soon as the implementations and that is done, we would definitely look into it and see how we can integrate it to the ecosystem. But again, Solo is designed for the communication with the outside world, and that gives us the control to do the market making and liquidity providing. Next question is, why did you choose to build Sologenic on XRP Ledger compared to other platforms out there? Would you encourage other developers to adopt XRP Ledger to build? So that's a really good question. I believe that every blockchain has a purpose. and it is essential for users to understand what is that purpose, what that purpose is basically. For example, this is my personal opinions, and I think the Bitcoin blockchain is a really great blockchain for the store of value. Ethereum has amazing smart contract systems, and XRP has been, leading the transactions and the fund transfers between enterprises, banks, and so on. And so they've built the XRP ledger around that, and it's basically designed for this specific thing. And what we were doing is very much related to the transfers of value that XRP ledger is doing. And things that we look at are the inbuilt features of the XRP ledger, like the ripplings, or previously the checks. All these stuffs are designed for the banking systems and for the financial systems, which Sologenic eventually is using. Not to mention the speed is one of the more important things in security, and the adoption, which is also very important. And to be frank, it's the documentation for XRP Ledger is very, very straightforward. And I was informed actually when I was at the Ubri, Ripple conference. There's a lot of new tools coming by them that will make it easier for people to build things on top of the XRP ledger. And one of our advisors, actually, Reza, he's one of the heroes in the XRP ledger ecosystem, and he's doing an amazing job with the XRPL labs, releasing products and tools. And I was looking basically, and I saw that he had a lot of ready to use codes for all the developers out there, like their containerized XRP validators, which you can literally use and bring up the validators in a matter of a few seconds. And so I think we need more people to jump in and to step in and do more open source work and encourage developers to basically contribute more to the whole ecosystem. And we actually want to do that. We have really good developers in CoinField and Sologenic, because we've been around the exchange for long, and we have developers for blockchain and non-blockchain things, and we have great UI developers and so on. And we do want to make all these open source tools that people or users can contribute and use towards the benefit of Solo and XRP. When I say benefit of Solo, it nearly means benefit of XRP as well, because they're like brothers and sisters. Next question. Have you thought of obtaining banking license? Well, that's actually really good, because, well, I'll tell you this story, that Sologenic, the ecosystem, also has the exchange coin for CoinField. You can get trading discounts and a lot of different benefits when using Solo in CoinField. So you see all these other exchanges have their coins for their ecosystem. Solo is not only the our exchange coin, but it has other added features like the tokenization, which that technology is built on the XRP ledger, and the crypto cards. The crypto cards are very important for our users, because we think anybody must be able to use the current technology to spend their assets. And I personally believe, now is not a perfect time for people think that they can do everything with cryptocurrencies and blockchain. You can't really go to a remote country and be expecting that they accept Bitcoin or XRP or any other crypto. But you can probably see a Visa or a MasterCard or a credit card merchant device in the store, which you can take a benefit of if you're smart enough. These companies have already built the infrastructure Now the infrastructure is all out there for the whole world, and so you're just going to have to use it to liquidate assets of users so that they can spend it at these points. So with these crypto cards, we're planning to allow users to instantly spend their assets anywhere they want, anywhere there's a machine for credit cards, and that allows anybody to use the crypto, which is one of the more important things that I think a lot of people are missing, and everybody's kind of trying to focus on the XRP ledger side. So aside from the XRP ledger, look at all these other benefits that we're trying to provide: the crypto cards and the transaction discounts and so on. So these are some parts of the ecosystem. And to answer the question, banking, yes, we are looking into it. We did not want to make the whole white paper really complicated, but that might be something that the team is working on. I can't reveal anything, but the team will probably touch on that very soon. Besides stocks, is there any other assets we can buy from the bank in the near future? Well, first of all, we're not a bank. We're we are a gateway, and right now we're tokenizing stocks and ETFs because we have the ability to. We have the required connections, networks, license, and we're updating the right licenses and so on. It's really difficult. You can't really just tokenize anything unless you can obtain it in the real world, and that to be legal. So you have to be absolutely sure about the physical world, and then the oracle and the blockchain. So that's very important that you can do it. But anything is possible in the future. Anything can be tokenized. So I kind of think that we're starting with stocks, ETFs. It's a massive market. We think everybody around the world needs to have access to these basic financial things like stocks or ETFs. Will people have an option for dividends to be paid in XRP? Well, we haven't thought about that, and dividends will be paid, but the plan is to be paid in the tokenized assets, and that will be liquidated at the point of redeem. So if you have Apple stocks that's tokenized, you will get your dividends in the same stock, and when you are redeeming it, you will get the equivalent of that in the currency that you're redeeming. Well, the answer question is, if solo or tokenized stocks are redeemed for XRP, where is that volume shown? Is that reflected in CoinField order books? Well, we are trying to focus on two things. One, we have the CoinField centralized exchange, which obviously CoinField has control of. What pairs they can bring, what they can pair and whatnot. But then you have the decentralized exchange, which we want to put a lot of focus to. For this decentralized exchange, we're using the XRP Ledger DEX. And what we want to do is we want to build a beautiful, easy to use layout and interface for people to interact with the DEX. I mean, what we have now is literally, not usable by the masses. We want to make it easy. And I recommend people to go to CoinField and use it once and see how easy everything is. Take a look at the UI functionalities and so on, and see how, what kind of, development resources we have. We want to build that exchange on top of the basically the extension on top of the XRP Ledger. And there you can trade anything you want. You can pair XRP with anything, and the order books are all open, and it's just the sky's the limit on the XRP Ledger. So it's something that we're proud of, to be very open, that you guys, you can take this to the XRPL. So that means your assets are not stuck with a centralized exchange or the gateway. You can actually use them in the DEX, and you can trade them even off hours, like when the stock markets and stuff is closed. You can still trade them, which is amazing. Will I be able to transfer the stock to a traditional brokerage house? Well, no, the Oracle basically will liquidate you in the current in one of the accepted currencies. And then you, because of many reasons, we are not able to do the transfer of that stock to any other brokerage house. Okay, what stocks beside Tesla and Apple? Well, we're going to be working with a multinational company providing brokerage services to us, and they have over 25 exchanges on their platforms, and that is roughly about 30,000 assets, stocks, ETFs. So it's not just Tesla and Apple. We only use them in our examples because they're some of the popular stocks. So you can pretty much go find a very specific stock that is issued in, let's say, Hong Kong Stock Exchange or New York Stock Exchange or any other exchange that is supported by the ecosystem. And you can be the only person who owns that. And you can put that up for sale on the DEX. And, again, on the DEX is the sky's the limit for sure. But then you can be from anywhere in the world and have access to that stock in Hong Kong. Okay, guys. So I guess that's all the questions that I wanted to go through today. I got some of the questions here. And one final question: is there going to be a cold storage solution to keep the stock off the exchange? If not, well, we're building everything on top of the XRP ledger, so you can absolutely transfer your assets to your existing XRP addresses. There are a lot of wallets you can use, and I personally use an offline wallet. There are GateHub and other wallets that you can basically use to transfer your trust lines and assets and all this. Like, there's a lot of functionalities with these wallets that you can't see with the regular exchanges. And we will eventually build all these functionalities into our exchange so that you can use our exchange as a full functioning XRP wallet. Don't forget and always remember that Solo is built on the XRP ledger. So anything the XRP technology uses, we also use the same thing. So you can take your assets anywhere, cold wallet, hot wallet, or anywhere you want. If you can transfer it to DEX, that means you can transfer it anywhere. Last question: can I get one Sologenic T-shirt? That's good. Yeah, I mean, I guess we have. We're giving away a lot of T-shirts, and I think they are happening in Malta. But I will definitely have our marketing team reach out to you and see if they can spare one, and for sure. And so thank you all for the questions and for your support for Solo and Sologenic ecosystem. I will probably do another AMA in the coming weeks as we will have more questions. And if you have any other question, you can just follow me on Twitter. Reza Bashash is my handle, and I can answer your questions there. Have a great day, night, or morning. Bye.